Most people know exactly how to touch bodies, but they have absolutely zero idea how to touch emotions. Okay, let's dive into this explainer and completely dismantle the delusional, aesthetic-driven garbage of modern romance to expose what actual, raw intimacy looks like. Right now, we treat intimacy like fast food, swiping endlessly for the perfect aesthetic. But if you want to understand what keeps someone obsessively thinking about you, we need to completely rewire how you view attraction from the ground up.
Look, people constantly chase that main character energy. You know the vibe? The taut skin, the successful business, the untouchable, confident manner. We've been completely programmed by a culture of validation addiction to think that's what makes you irresistible. But here's the kicker. Being a great lover is actually about presence, not physical performance. Literally anyone can perform. But real intimacy? It calms the nervous system like finally finding a cell signal in a dead zone. It's when the exhausting performance stops that the real chemistry actually begins.
Let's be real for a sec. Picture the late-night conversations, the slow eye contact, and then that heavy, awkward post-intimacy silence. When that silence hits and the initial dopamine spike of physical lust drops, people do not remember your flawless technique. The internal monologue completely shifts to, maybe intimacy is more emotional than physical, because they remember exactly how emotionally safe you made them feel when you dropped the act. Their brain goes from, are they impressed by me, to, wow, why does this feel deeper than attraction? That's the oxytocin taking over.
Section 1. Owning your red flags.
The plot twist of real attraction is that we don't actually want flawless people. Perfect people are terrifying because they leave absolutely no room for us to just be human. What we crave is someone's calm, non-defensive recognition that they are basically a walking red flag. The ideal lover isn't defensive. They know they lose focus, they know they're prone to jealousy, and they know they mess up. But they feel this profound gratitude that anyone puts up with them at all. Dropping the armor to say sorry almost before a word is spoken? That lack of ego is high-key attractive. Most people fight to defend their pride, which just destroys the emotional bond. When you drop the armor and apologize early, you bypass their defensive barriers entirely.
And this perfectly illustrates the vulnerability cheat code. Instead of hiding your issues until they do catastrophic damage months down the line, you warn them early. You literally hand over a dense folder of your follies right from the jump. You say, hey, I get incredibly anxious when this happens, or I have a terrible habit of shutting down. You give them the manual. It proves your attachment system is actually secure enough to be seen. You have to know the backstory files to your own psychology, the roots of your anger, the triggers for your anxiety, the origins of your self-pity. Why? So your partner doesn't stumble blindly onto your issues in the dark and then get told they're delusional or crazy for trying to make sense of them. Listen, if you don't communicate your emotional blueprints, your partner will absolutely internalize your bad moods as their fault.
A master of intimacy understands the ultimate reaction. Bro, they actually make me feel seen even when I'm being ridiculous. They use humor, but not to put on some cringe stand-up routine for applause. The best lovers use humor to invite laughter at how vain, conceited, and entirely ridiculous they themselves can be. They laugh at their own desperate attempts to be normal. It completely disarms the tension, calming the partner's nervous system so you don't have to scream or cry. You're basically whispering, I'm a total mess too, you're safe here.
Section 2. Decoding emotional ghosts. Are you still watching? Because understanding this part will literally change how you see every argument you've ever had. We are moving past the superficial dating apps and straight into the deep rabbit hole of why people actually stay. When you're being utterly maddening, a great lover relies on a benevolent interpretation of your motives. They remember the sincere, hurt child hiding beneath the complicated, defensive adult you're acting like. They know you're probably just dealing with a humiliation at work or a careless parent, and you are not operating on a single-minded mission to destroy their life. The scary part about modern loneliness is how often we mistake figures in our present for the ghosts in our pasts. We constantly project our old trauma onto new faces. An emotionally intelligent partner recognizes when they are suddenly in a crowded room with your childhood ghosts. They don't take the sudden coldness or anger personally. They just see the glitch in the emotional matrix. Look at how emotional intelligence translates surface cringe into deep connection. It treats the emotional mind as a very peculiar, counterintuitive organ crying out for gentle interpretation. When someone is displaying surface impatience, the great lover translates the root cause as anxiety. When someone is mean, they see that meanness was once done to them. Anger is just a mask for deep hurt. Translating this behavior literally prevents the reward systems in the brain from shutting down during conflict. Section 3. Connection hits harder.
Chemistry without emotional safety burns out incredibly fast. It's just a cheap dopamine hit. But true emotional connection hits so much harder than physical lust. When you actually feel emotionally held by someone, it lives rent-free in your head forever. It's the difference between someone wanting your body and someone deeply understanding your psychology. Being down bad for the real thing means finding someone who makes room for your absolute strangeness. They let go of normality because they know from spending enough time in their own minds that intimacy is awkward, sex is very odd for everyone, and we are all way more envious, petty, anxious, and glorious than society pretends we are. They don't want the sanitized version of you.
So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Being a great lover was never about impressing people with your normality or your resume. It was always about making them feel profoundly safe in their own strangeness. We might admire someone for their perfect traits, sure, but we absolutely fall in love with people based on how we feel about ourselves when we are in their presence.
Leave the validation addiction behind. Stop performing. You need to ask yourself this incredibly uncomfortable truth. Are you acting like a prize to be won, or are you acting like emotional oxygen for a suffocating world? Most people treat intimacy like fast food. Can physical attraction actually survive without this kind of emotional connection? Definitely not. Because maybe being a great lover was never about impressing people at all. Maybe it was always about making them feel emotionally alive.